Well, let's take a quick peek at the canary in the coal mine. The all-time Hall of Famer rabbis teach in a Mishnah that if not for the fear of the government, each person would swallow their neighbor alive. Rav Yerucham Levovitz Zatzal points out that it could have said, if not for fear of the government, each person would swallow their neighbor, period, full stop. What's the significance of the Mishnah adding would swallow their neighbor alive? And he answers that if not for consequence, each person would swallow their neighbors kicking and screaming for help and not heed their call. He points out that humanity is not born with empathy. Think about it. We're born with very limited development, both physically and intellectually, but as we mature, hopefully we're able to not only see the world more deeply, but recognize that we are not the only ones on the planet. Empathy is something that we must actively work on acquiring throughout our entire lives. The default state of people is taking. What have you done for me lately? What is in it for me? Adam Smith in The Wealth of Nations introduced the concept of the invisible hand. He was explaining that the baker doesn't cook for the community out of the goodness of his heart, rather he does it for his own self-interest. And thus a free market will be guided by the invisible hand where people naturally compete for business. Our entire economic system of supply and demand is predicated on this invisible hand and the fact that people act in their own self-interest. But even Adam Smith would acknowledge that without law and order, this self-interest would likely spiral down and out of control. When gone unchecked, people and even nations can descend into a state of animalism. But the point stands, without fear of the consequence, society will spiral down and out of control until each person would literally murder their neighbors as they're kicking and screaming and begging them to stop, or screaming to someone to help them to no avail. Brutal perpetrators would do this even without feeling one bit of remorse. They would do this without empathizing with their victims. We see this today in the small but loud minority of human population everywhere. Remember, it was the Nazis who rose to power as a small and angry minority. Today, in New York City, there is a different group who are racially profiling Jews in order to beat up or even murder these innocent civilians who are otherwise minding their own business. The attackers are even targeting elderly people in the streets of New York. That's nothing new, I suppose. But what happens when the perpetrator is arrested and let go to commit the same assault and battery and get arrested? This is all reflective of a deeper decline. Your newsfeed has become weaponized by nation and non-nation states to disrupt the United States and destroy it from within. The military-industrial newsfeed currently have humanity unnoticed as outside forces build armies of digital trolls and bots to influence elections in polarized countries by inciting groups against each other. The citizens of the world seem to mindlessly be taking the bait. Someone once said, you're the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. If that's true, and the average person spends hours on your newsfeed, then it's likely that people are being highly influenced by the loudest members of their circles who are not necessarily the most intelligent. Not only that, but the media pours gas on the fire because more clicks means more revenue. In the past, countries and corporations profit from every war that was ever fought, even if no side actually won. Today, the media is jumping into the military-industrial complex. They are no different. Social media and the media outlets that deliver propaganda make money when things go viral. For example, when something is newsworthy, they all jump to break the story because they know that it is a new social media age. They know that stories no longer require the costly printing press, and they no longer wait the morning for distribution. This contributes to the proliferation of destructive misinformation. In other words, companies and bloggers are willingly sacrificing accuracy in order to ride the wave of virality of a breaking current event. Unfortunately, our best friend, the newsfeed, the more ludicrous and enraging the story, the more likely it will go viral. This contributes to the destructive polarization. If Hitler were alive today, he would strategically take video footage out of context, splice it together, and paint whatever picture he wants. Everyone today has been in a discussion with someone, even a neighbor, that they wonder what planet are they living on. An internet filter bubble echo chamber would bubble and bubble and bubble until it boils over from cyberspace into real life. This is the new normal. This only contributes to people becoming more introverted and walking on eggshells. When citizens consume radically different facts and information, they become increasingly polarized and emotional and sometimes enraged and unable to even discuss things rationally. When that emotion begins to boil over into action, it should be a signal, a canary in the coal mine. Empathy is lacking. Truth is lacking. Consequence itself is the last defense before we fall off the cliff. This applies to individuals. It also applies to countries. Governments controlling the masses through the media is nothing new. However, in today's day and age, with digital VPNs and social media, The government can actually control the collective minds of other nations through social media. And in the social media age, the strength of a democratic society and the value of free speech could be its vulnerability. The war is the same, the battlefield is different. Humanity not just needs to raise the bar of tolerance, but must actively raise the bar of morality and social responsibility by bringing light and inspiration into the darkness. We must always remember and never forget that if not for fear of the government, each person would consume their neighbors alive.